What's going on, awesome people? Welcome to another episode of Awesome People Instagram Live. Getting my camera set up over here. I hope that you all are doing well and healthy, and wherever you are, that life is treating you well, especially on this Tuesday, June 27th. My name is Iman Hushman. If you have not become familiarized with these Awesome People Instagram Lives yet, welcome to virtual conversations where I get to highlight some of the most awesome Iranians and, as of late, non-Iranians in my circle of influence. So many amazing people are around us doing some pretty damn amazing stuff. And most recently, we are working on creating an incredible 12-hour experience called the Azadi Festival. If you're not familiar yet with what Azadi Festival is, there's more information via the link in bio, but in short, it's a 12-hour program where essentially we're uniting through Iranian culture, taking all the very best that our culture has to offer, from its food to its music to its dance to its art to its poetry to its love for hospitality to dance. Did I forget anything? And putting it all together in one cool place called Ship Garden in Tysons. It's a massive multiplex that holds about 3,000 people. Got Iranian food, got multiple cuisines, got a kids corner for children, got a traditional immersive Iranian experience. So much for everybody, pretty much. I mean, literally for everybody, in the sense that it's a family-friendly event. All ages are welcome. And it's not even just for Iranians. So even though it might be something cool for Iranians, hopefully it's something cooler for non-Iranians who want to learn more about the Iranian culture, the food, the music, the dance, all that good stuff. And in the past few weeks, I've been doing IG Lives with the most integral individuals that are helping all of this happen, and they are either ambassadors or they're allies or they're sponsors or they're vendors or they're performers, and it's a true community effort. And I've just done my part in trying to make sure that I put a spotlight on all these awesome individuals that from their heart have been doing whatever they can to bring the community together, both locally and globally, because this entire program will be live streamed, but also just making sure that we are keeping the revolution that's happening right now in Iran front of mind, front and center, which is why throughout the entire program, we're going to be having activists, human rights activists, humanitarians, lovers of Iran, freedom fighters, all coming and being a part of this program, and then having a few minutes where they get to share some things about what's happening in Iran, things that they're working on to bring awareness to what's happening in Iran, whatever we can to continue amplifying the voices of Iranians. So that's what the Azadi Festival is. And then through this whole journey of working with some really great people that are helping out as best as they can, was able to connect with one of my friends, Arash Momeni, Arash Alex Momeni. And he has been a very integral part of the promotional element of this entire program. If you're in the DC area, even if you've only lived there for maybe like 6 months, I don't think that it's possible for you to wander around DC, Maryland, Virginia, and not stumble upon Moby Dick. It's truly one of the most recognized Iranian franchises on the planet. And I'm probably a 1% stakeholder now, if you consider how much I've purchased food and enjoyed food at Moby Dick in the last 30 years, having been a Washingtonian. And it's a brand that I've always respected. Aghay Khosro Ruheshun Shad, he was the original creator of Moby Dick, and the location that I used to frequent all the time was the Bethesda location. That's where it all started. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of hosting the wedding of the son, Ned Daryush, who's now the CEO. And Arash is the chief operating officer that I have the pleasure of having as a guest on today. And from the moment that I had the conversation with him a couple weeks ago, it's like, it was immediately about how can we help? How can we help? This is amazing. Put all the posters around their stores, and then figuring out how else to kind of brand this properly so that the entire DC, Maryland, Virginia area can learn about this program and just kind of just raise as much awareness. And I've been incredibly grateful to Arashon, to his wife Yas, who helped coordinate all of this, pulling some great strings behind the scenes, and of course Ned Daryush for his blessings and his support of this entire program. Really the entire Moby Dick family. I say entire Moby Dick family because we've been able to blanket all of their 25 plus stores, and all the general managers have been so, general managers slash owners have been so welcoming, so accommodating, and just fully backing this entire Azadi Festival. And really at its core, that's what Azadi Festival was. It was about to, it's a seed that was being planted to bring us all together. So major love to Moby Dick, and I'm so grateful to have Arash here right now. He's in the waiting room, but I'll give a little background, a little bio, just so you're kind of aware of who he is and where he's coming from, and then we'll have him give his background. But as an accomplished executive and the COO of Moby Dick Restaurant Group, he is one of the main reasons, like I said, that we have this respected brand as one of the allies of the festival. Moby Dick is a rapidly expanding organization with more than 25 locations and a workforce of 350 employees in the DC area, with an active involvement in all aspects of the business. Arash plays a pivotal role in driving operational efficiencies, cultivating vendor relationships, negotiating contracts, and overseeing marketing, PR, and advertising campaigns, which is why he's kicking so much ass with all the stuff that we're doing here. Prior to joining Moby Dick, Arash led various management and executive positions with renowned Fortune 500 companies such as ADP, Granger, and Stryker Spine. His educational background further strengthens his skill set. He graduated at the top of his class from the University of Maryland. I'm an alma mater, fellow Terp. Robert A. Smith School of Business, which is an amazing business program, earning a Bachelor's of Science degree in marketing. With a proven track record of delivering results and a passion for innovation, Arash remains at the forefront of industry trends, continuously seeking opportunities for growth and empowerment. Enough half sadan, it's time to welcome the man himself, Moby Dick. Go ahead and drop your favorite Moby dish in the comments. Show some love for the Moby Dick family for being such a supporter. And here he is, Arash Momeni.
How you doing, John? What's going on?
Durud, how are you, my friend? I'm jealous of your beard, I'll tell you that much.
Actually, I got to trim it. My wife keeps reminding me that it's gotten too long, so I got to take care of that.
It looks good, man. How are you? Thanks so much for joining. I know you're a busy guy.
Are you kidding me, man? I see the work you're doing, and there was nothing else we could do but to support it. It's huge.
You certainly have, man. And we'll get to the point where, you know, Moby Dick is supporting so much. But for those who don't know, Arash Momeni, can you give us a little background? Where were you born? Where were you raised? How did you get into the road of Moby Dick?
Yeah. So I was born in Iran, in Tehran. We left around when I was about six and a half years old, and we moved. We made a couple of stops in Europe, and I finally ended up in Sweden. You know, primarily spent my upbringing in Gothenburg, Sweden, up until right after high school. And throughout those years, I kept visiting my family in New York. I had a lot of cousins there. And so every summer or every few summers, we would end up in New York, and I just had a tremendous time. And I fell in love with the country as a whole. And I knew right away that when high school's over, I'm going to find a way to move here. So, you know, went through all the ringers and the paperwork and convinced my parents that it's time to go. And so I moved and, you know, started school, first Montgomery College, then University of Maryland. And I'm giving you like the super fast version of it. But, you know, then life kind of took on. And then I met Yasi, and, you know, we moved to Arizona together. We spent a good 10 years there. And that's primarily where I picked up all my corporate experience that you were kind enough to mention. And then this entire time, you know, while I was here, I worked for Moby Dick at the Bethesda location when I was in college. And so me and we had a great relationship. He was like a father figure to me because my parents were in Sweden. So he always had my back, and I knew I always could rely on him when things got tough. So when I graduated, I came to him immediately, and I was like, I'm ready to work for you, like at another level. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm like, why not? And he's like, you've spent all this money and all this time to graduate. Take that experience and go do something in corporate America. If you still want to come back to Moby and myself, I won't be going anywhere. And so he kind of pushed me to make that leap, which I really appreciate because he gave me a lot of learning experiences that I just kind of, I think has helped me along the way. So then the rest of it I kind of did in Arizona. I moved to Arizona, and I was with those companies that you mentioned and picked up all those experiences, unknowing what they're going to do for me in life. And restaurant space was a passion of mine. I've always been a cook at heart. I loved taking that to the next level. I love the science behind how food could be perfected. And so a lot of cookbooks and videos and just really loving it. I couldn't find a way back into the restaurant space because my corporate experience was taking me completely in another trajectory.
Right.
And so finally, I, just talking to him back and forth over the years, visiting him as often as I could. If I was ever back in town, I called him up once, and to make a long story short, I flew out. We spent a few days together, and everything matched, and his vision and mine was identical. And he was kind enough to give me another opportunity to come back. And fast forward, it's been almost 9 years, and shortly after I joined, then Ned joined after graduating as well. And so he knew he had the company in good hands, if you will. And obviously, there's a lot of other players that are a part of this. This was certainly not a two-man show by any stretch of the imagination. But he felt good about having us kind of be the future, if you will, together with our current team and crew. Unfortunately, we lost them very abruptly and unexpectedly. So that kind of set us back a little, but we managed to work that out. And, then COVID happened. And so we're here now, and we're excited because we finally put that behind us, and we've signed up. We're going to be opening another 10 locations in the next 24 months. I mean, we're going to hit the rapid growth button as we speak. So
amazing. I mean, first of all, Echo is truly a local legend in the Iran, not just the Iranian community, but the entire DC area in general. As a restaurateur, I still remember one great memory that I have at Ned and Emma's wedding. It was at the Willard, and then the entire time he was in the kitchen making sure that everything about the food was perfect. And I was like, that is a father's love right there, making sure that his food for his son's wedding is going to be perfect. So that's a great memory that I have from him. So Baran Rushad, as an Iranian, I'm extremely proud of what he's accomplished. And it's so great to see his son and you are really taking care of it, and just he passed on the torch to capable people for sure. So
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I have the same memories. I went back to the kitchen to ask him to go enjoy the party, and he yelled at me and said, "Go have fun. I got this." I'm like, "Okay." I'll never forget it. So yeah, same kind of memories. But yeah, we're just trying to do him proud, man. Honestly, the community. He was such a fan of the Iranian community, and he knew the reason he got started, and the fuel behind it all was our culture and our people in this area, if you will. So every chance, and it's funny because after he passed, I heard a lot of stories from people that knew him even before me at how he contributed to different organizations kind of behind the scenes. He never wanted anybody to really know it was him that funded this or helped with that. And so knowing that, Ned and I just wanted to make sure we continued on to that. You don't want to forget where you came from. And it sounds cliche, but without our people here in this area supporting us, that's the whole start of it. Now, don't get me wrong, we were blessed to have other clientele and other demographics and people wanting to enjoy this meal, but without our Persian people, man, we would not be here. So that's why every chance we get, and when I heard that you were trying to get a hold of us, Yassi was like, "Have you reached out to Iman?" I mean, it was no brainer, man. So I appreciate you thinking of us.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, as somebody who's been in the community for doing events for 25 years, so many school organization events, so many cultural events, Moby Dick has always supported them. Even myself, any event that I've ever had, it's just, you guys always supported, and that means a lot, because that's another reason why you will always have my support, and why you have so much Iranian support.
Appreciate it.
So speaking of Azadi Festival, can you tell me what drew you towards like this event? Like what kind of like got you interested? What did you like about it? And we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so the personally, it was the Saturdays prior to this, and all the protests and the DC walks, if you will. I tried to attend as many as I could, and I saw the passion behind it, and I saw what we're trying to do remotely to help our people back home. And then things kind of slowed down a little bit. Winter hit, and I was constantly wondering what's next, because this isn't stopping. You could see that Iran is still trying. And then when I heard about this, it kind of made sense, because you took a completely new angle to it, where you're literally wanting to celebrate Azadi, which is what this is all about. It's freedom. And so you put a new spin on it, which I loved. And it wasn't the traditional, let's go out there and chant, which was amazing that we did that. So I felt like this could be a new angle and something we could potentially do every quarter, every 6 months, and continue on with it. and it had a lot of positive spin in it and positivity behind it that I felt like we had to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt that unfortunately, not just in DC, but everywhere, the protests were kind of dying down. And like, I just felt like people weren't talking about it. And I was like, we got to give power to the people. And giving power to the people means bringing them all together in the one common denominator that draws any nationality. But in this case, Iranians, it was going to be through the cultural element. So I'm glad that it resonated with you guys. And I obviously appreciate you all helping amplify the messaging for it. Let me ask you, what is, have you been back to Iran since then when you were 6 years old?
No, I've never been back. My parents visit every few years. My sister's even been back. My younger sister, I've never been back.
What is like one of the first things that you will do when you go to a free Iran?
Honestly, I've told my parents this all the time. First thing I'll do is I'm going to kiss the ground, because I'm not something I like to talk about in public, but I am pretty covered with Iranian artwork. So no matter how far and how long it's been since I've been back home, my plan's always been my ashes are going to be back home. If I ever go back, I'm bringing some of that soil back. It's, you know, I left at almost 7 and it's still home to me. I mean, I grew up in Sweden and then majority of it here. And as much as I love my upbringing and what both countries have given me, Iran's always home. So that's definitely the first thing I do.
I love that. And speaking of art all around you, your wife Yas also helped create the Masa Amini mural in DC. I'm sure you had a lot to do with that too. So that was a cool experience, right?
It was great. I mean, when she first told me, I'm like, really, you want to do this? And she's like, yeah. But I saw the passion. I mean, she was not going to let anything stop her. So we tried to help and, you know, kind of behind the scenes a little bit, but she took it and ran with it. I mean, her and her team, just amazing work. And we just kind of stood by and watched it come to life. So it was awesome.
I got to come see the one in DC. And then when you guys come to Miami, our Unite and Conquer team, we made one in Miami. So we got to do both of them. You know, you come to Miami, I'll come check out the DC one.
Listen, Miami, that's not a good invite you want to throw out. That's me and Yassi's like second town, man. We'll be there like next weekend. We love Miami.
Let's do it. Let me ask you, going back to your experience with Iran, first of all, do you see yourself taking Moby Dick to Iran?
Oh, dream come true, man. That would be, I mean, and again, the name, I mean, there was a very famous restaurant in Tehran named Moby Dick that Mr. Mike kind of drew inspiration from, but I've obviously never experienced it. And from what last I heard, it just recently closed. But imagine us going back and opening just one there for the hell of it one day. That would be amazing. I mean, you hear these artists talking about, I want to go back and have a concert there, and I like to go back and have a show there. We would love to have a little spot there just to give back. I mean, that would be a dream.
So I don't know who it was, but somebody asked me yesterday, like, why Moby Dick? What's the story behind it?
Honestly, it's not the greatest story. Ned and I always chuckle about it. The best formation of this story that we've had, or the best kind of, you know, the best version of it, I should say, that we've heard from Mr. Mike himself is the restaurant in Tehran. He wanted to pay homage to them because he had memories there. Him and his business partner in the past, still, but he was reading the Moby Dick book. It was on the coffee table when they're kind of together a lot, figuring out what to do with this one location restaurant that he just opened up, and what do we call this thing? And he said, well, Moby Dick there, and your book is here. Why don't we just call it Moby Dick? House of Kebab was not even there first. It was Luncheonette. It was Moby Dick Luncheonette, because he wanted to serve like sandwiches and cheesesteaks and burgers, traditional kind of diner level food, and call the menu items from the different members of the characters in the book, if you will.
Wow.
So that never really came to life. He quickly realized this menu is not doing what it's supposed to. And so he pivoted. He quickly brought in a tandoor that he had custom built, brought that in because he wanted to kind of show people what homemade bread is, or is like, pita bread, the tough tune, if you will. And then he started making kubide instead of some of the burgers with the same meat. And slowly people were ordering more of that and less of this. And he's like, well, let's add chicken. So little by little, he realized that, you know, this is the way to go. And then a couple of years later, Luncheonette came off and House of Kebab got added.
But I mean, when you think about it, he was way ahead of his time, because usually 30, 40 years ago in Iranian, if they're opening up something, it's a super Irani name. And so, you know, it's very catchy. So Correct. He gets a lot of marketing points from that. The story might not be sexy, but the end result speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, and Pioneer, right? Every Persian restaurant, nothing against them. It was always mostly fine dining, waiters, waitresses. At
Yeah,
least he showed up and says, you know what, plastic utensils and foam plates. And people,
yeah,
most people would have been like, don't do that. And he was like, no, we're going to bring the cost down. You're going to eat fast casual and go. And, 30 some years later, and how many have tried it after?
yeah.
Because it just made sense.
And then just out of curiosity, you said you guys are opening up another, you said 10 in the next 24
Yeah.
hours?
Yeah. So
So,
6 leases have already been signed, 4 more are being worked on. So it's happening.
and it's all DC, Maryland, Virginia? Are you guys
Yeah.
trying to venture out?
Yeah, so right now there's plenty of places, luckily, that we are fully supported and being asked to open in, and there's plenty of geographical areas around the DC metro area that we could still open. Every major city, if you want to call it that, has been emailing us for years. Why are you not in Woodbridge? Why are you not in Urbana? Why can't you come to Frederick? So we have plenty of those projects right now that we could tackle ourselves, and Ned likes to call it home base, if you
Yeah.
will. So here, this area, we can knock it out ourselves. But to answer your question in further detail, yes, we are looking at expansion beyond the tri-state area, but we don't want to do it with a franchisee at a time. We're looking for a franchise restaurant group that wants to kind of tackle their home state.
Nice.
So if everything lines up and they're already in the business and they know how to grow a brand in their geographical area, and we don't have to worry about supporting them too much because we wouldn't know enough about that state, if you will.
Yeah.
That could be an opportunity that we would be very interested in. Correct.
Very cool. Well, I got one word for you, Miami, you know? And I'm very good friends with the people at Shah's Kebab over here. They've done a great job over here.
Yeah.
But I even they would welcome you all with open arms because it's a great, hardworking family. And so the more that we get to present Iranian food, it's an amazing thing. So we were kind of like envisioning the thought of you taking Moby Dick to Iran. And I'm just kind of curious, in general, what does a free Iran look like to Arash Momeni?
On the word that you put on your festival, just the Azad, a free Iran, where people can just like here, express themselves however they wish, wear what they want, speak how they like, and as long as it's respectful and the common sense theme is behind it. That's all I would love in Iran, where people can just enjoy themselves, support each other, help each other, boost the economy. There's so much talent in that country that cannot do what they are meant to do in life because they're being held down. Let them loose. And I mean, sky's the limit. That's what I would see in Iran. If I'm ever lucky enough to be alive to see that, that's what I'm hoping for.
What are you most fighting for? Like when you speak so passionately about Iran and wanting to go kiss the ground, like are there certain individuals or certain things that you're like that's your everybody's got like this little fire inside of them, like who do you think of when you do this fight?
Well, so people like my uncle that I lost in New York several years ago to cancer, my grandmother who loved Iran so much that we lost literally a year ago to date almost. She kept telling us, I hope I'm alive to see Iran free. And she unfortunately didn't make it. But people like that were near and dear to me that would tell me these stories about their upbringing and, drinking from the hose and, playing soccer in the bog. And, that stuff is what I would like to go experience myself, even though I'll be much older now. But I want to see what they saw from their lens because I was young when I left. I still have little memories from Shomal or little specks of things that come to mind where my mom even goes, how do you remember that house in Shomal? I really don't know, but it was memorable. I mean, I remember barbecuing with my uncles and we would put glass soda bottles in the little creek next to us amongst the rocks and the watermelons in the water getting cold while my dad is making the kubita with bread. That stuck out with me. I don't know why, but as a 6-7-year-old, how did I remember that? I don't know. But those are the things I want to do. I want to go back and go to the villages and eat some tooth from the tree and just little basic stuff, man. Just enjoy the country for what it was and what it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one thing that we have in common, me, you, and so many others fighting for freedom for Iran, is that this was all stolen from us. Yes, the people inside of Iran, they have gone through the most amount of heartache, and we're lucky to be in a country like America and so many freedoms and opportunities, but we missed this opportunity to experience our homeland. And so it's a commonality, and that's why I consider you a brother, man. I appreciate you. and everybody at
Thank you.
Moby Dick for supporting our
Thank
entire
you.
Azadi Festival family.
Thank you.
And I have no doubt that very soon we'll go to Iran. Moby Dick will open. You can kiss the ground. I'll join you next to it.
Inshallah.
And then we go to Shomar together, man. But I just want to say
Thank
on
you.
behalf of everybody that's a part of Azadi Festival, thank you. Thank Ned. Thank you, Yassi Jun, and the entire Moby Dick
100%.
family. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much, brother. Looking forward to working with you. Thank you so
Or
much.
Take care,
God bless.
brother. Take care,
See you
brother.
guys.
Bye.
Same here. Bye.